is, I think, who you are during that time period, you know?
All right, so moving on to the NFL, really quickly about your whole career, you ended up at 10 different places in just 11 years. Man, each step of the way, what was that process like for you going to a new team? And by the time the 8th or 9th time rolled around, what were you telling yourself?
Well, you kind of got to split it up into three, I would say three quadrants, if you will, right? I was drafted first round, super excited. You know, they wanted me to play outside linebacker, and to be honest with you, I never played linebacker before. And I was adequate, you know, at best, I would say. But I realized after my first year that I just want to go back to playing defensive end. I want to rush the passer, and it really was a struggle to get a team to, you know, give me that opportunity. I mean, as you guys know, I mean, I didn't get my first opportunity till I think year 6 or 7, wherever it was, with the Titans. That's when I got my opportunity to play defensive end, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh shit, this guy can play defensive end," and that's when my career really, you know, really blossomed and began. And then, you know, towards the middle obviously was, you know, playing defensive end and having a great time. But the end, you know, I just, like any athlete, I don't want to stop playing football. And of course, I wanted a big fat Super Bowl ring, so I was, you know, trying to hop on a team that was destined to that path and needed a pass rusher.
Well, something happened to your screen. Rodon, what happened to your screen?
Sorry about that.
So this is a 2-part question here. I want to take me back to your draft experience. What was that like when the Houston Texans drafted you and gave you the opportunity to start your NFL journey? And the next question, how grateful are you that you play in the NFL, because most kids or most athletes don't get that chance?
Draft day was pretty special for me because I decided not to go to New York and stay in my hometown and experience it with all the people that helped me get there. I grew up in a small town in Michigan, and as you guys know, it takes a village. You know, I wasn't good at coloring inside the lines when it came to, you know, my personality and behavior. So I know a lot of people had a lot to do with my success and keeping on track over the years. So I wanted to experience that day with them. I thought it would be really special. And the funny part was when they called, no one realized how it happened. And Tennessee traded up, or Tennessee, you know, traded them. They traded up. And it was like, he's going to Tennessee. And they're like, no, he's going to Texans. So it was kind of a quick moment of where is it going? But we left the next morning, my wife and I, at like 6 a.m. the flight down there, and I'm coming through the building, and I was at the time wasn't really a huge sports guy. I didn't watch it, didn't know it, didn't pay attention to it, didn't watch ESPN. And coming in the back of the building, I meet this old guy in jeans and a t-shirt and a polo hat, you know, and talking to him, had a great conversation. I was like, oh, what a nice guy, you know, great down to earth guy. And then someone tells me later, like, hey, that's the owner of the team, you know, that's Mr. McNair, you know. And from that moment on, I realized, you know, like, hey, he may be a billionaire, but what a normal guy. I mean, he was just literally a normal guy, and giving someone an opportunity to to do their best.
So and then the next question here for you, how grateful are you that you got to play in the NFL, and most athletes don't get their chance?
I think for me, the opportunity to go was amazing, but the opportunity and the journey that I went through in my career, it really forged me as a person. And I think that was more important, you know, for whatever reason, you know, everyone's on their own path, but my journey through the NFL, I mean, it really changed me in a good, profound way. You know, I mean, I was always hardworking, always had some good qualities, but I think I needed to get kicked in the ass a little. You know, I needed to get knocked down and build myself back up. I mean, I really do. I think, guys are usually a little bit later bloomers when it comes to other things, when it comes to relationships, understanding, all those different qualities. So if it wasn't for my experiences and early struggles, I don't think I would be the person I was today. That's for sure.
Hey, you mentioned it takes a village to create someone like you, someone who's going to the NFL, someone who's successful. Along the journey, you're going to meet a lot of teammates, a lot of coaches who are going to be with you every step of the way. Who are those guys for you?
I would definitely say the early age. My dad obviously was always a part of my life, but he was the one that, taught me work ethic. He owned his own company, always worked hard. Getting up at 5 a.m. was just, that's what we do. We get up early. If you're a successful person, there's certain traits that you have to have. Getting up early, getting all of your work done in a very systematic way, and repeat on a consistent basis. And he instilled that in me, that work ethic, that understanding of what you need to do day in, day out. But then I had some unique people on the way that, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what they saw in this little troublemaker. You know what I mean? That was maybe not nearly as good as some of the other kids. But they must have recognized something in me and believed in me, and kept me on the path. I had a gym teacher, family friend that, I still talk to today, and I got in trouble and go see Mr. Rokamp, and he played at Michigan State, middle linebacker. I'm sure he would have went to the NFL, but he had blown both his knees out. And back in that day, Joe Montana era, wasn't a quick recovery. But it would go see Mr. Rokamp. He got in trouble. he would deal with me. And there's so many other teachers that took a shine to me. And looking back, it's like, geez, without them, where would I be? But it is important, and you never know what kind of impact you have on someone's life, no matter how small the interaction or what you do that may change their trajectory. So it's always important. I think now for me is giving back. Not obviously I coach because my kids play sports, but really taking the time to hey, make sure everything's okay and we're pushing towards the right direction.
Yeah. So I know you had. I'm a Cowboys fan, by the way. So
Oh God, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, but I know you had 2 stints with the Eagles, and one of them you were part of the Dream Team, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So I just have to ask you this though. What was that like, getting all the hype? But what do you know what went wrong with that team? Because I feel like you guys had so much talent, but something went wrong in that team.
Discipline. Right? You can't do the small things. You can't do the big things without the small things.
Right. But so, and also the next question, what was it like going back to the Eagles, 2011, going back to Philly?
I really am. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm not really an emotional person. Not really an emotional person anyway. So I didn't really bother me one way or the other. I just wanted to play football, and I wanted to have a really good time.
Hey, man, on the other side of life, besides the football side, some players love to party. They love to get out there. Other players are kind of to themselves. Number one, what kind of guy are you? And based on that, what was your favorite city to play in as far as attractions, as far as things to do?
Well, I think it's important to, and obviously I've gotten better at this with my older age, but it's important to have both things in your life, because if you're not fully satisfied in one area of your life, then the other areas really suffer. So like when I work, I work. When we're learning, we learn. When I'm family time, it's family time. And when we party, we freaking party. So it's I don't do anything half-assed. I was truthfully I was supposed to be in Ibiza for my 40th birthday this May, but that obviously got canceled. So I'd like to think that whatever I'm doing, I'm all in.
So my next question here, our other friend Seb Talk Sports had you on on his show. That was a great interview I saw. And what did you learn from him? And obviously he's a big Jaguars fan, and you played with the Jaguars. And I also interviewed Adam Gase recently. He just signed with the Jaguars 2 weeks ago. He came on my show. So what advice would you give Adam going to Jacksonville? And he's recovering. He says he's 100%, so that's a good thing from his injury. But did you give him any advice when he signed with Jacksonville?
I did not. I don't know if you guys know too much about the real estate side of the business, but Kyle Bosworth, he deals with the athlete division. So most of the athletes here in Jacksonville go through Kyle via Red Zone for real estate, and other athletes around the country as well. So I did not chat with him, but the thing about Jacksonville is it's in the sense of the people here, they're going to treat you like a normal person. You go somewhere like Philadelphia, they're gonna give you the special treatment.
Yeah.
So it's a laid back, easygoing kind of city. So act that way.
All right, I want to ask you this. You co-founded, as you were talking about, real estate just now, you co-founded Red Zone Realty Group. After playing, what made you want to do that?
Well, I got into real estate development while I was still playing up in Michigan. We build neighborhoods, apartment complexes, homes, commercial properties, etc. And I wanted something that really kind of framed everything, and we could function as a one-stop entity. So Red Zone Realty was kind of an idea at the time as part of the plan. But Red Zone is a real estate company, commercial, residential. We have offices from South Florida to Michigan, and franchise now in Houston. But then we also have property management. But what we did was, I took what I knew about football, right, and having that right culture in the locker room, education, learning base, and really transferred it over into real estate. So what we specialize is we like to find like-minded individuals that want to grow, that want to learn, that want to be coached, that want to improve, that want to have fun, that enjoy what they do in a positive manner. And obviously we leverage technology to the hilt. Everything we do, we're always pushing that boundary on the bleeding edge. And the unique thing now that I think this is year 3 or 4 of the company is now people know what we are. They know our culture. They seek us out. I mean, just this week, I've had 2 NFL guys that are retired and moving down to Florida that want to hold their license at Red Zone. I didn't recruit them. So it's just, we're at that, I would say, a special time in the company's, growth where people know who we are. They know what we're about. And it's really been a fun ride. But I've always enjoyed that development of people, right? And, or coaching. And this was just, I think, just another way for me to do that, off the football field.
So I want to ask you, like you said before that you got your opportunity in Tennessee, and so what did you like about Tennessee, and what was that like playing for that team?
Tennessee was fun. I remember sitting in Coach Washburn's office as a free agent, and I said, "Listen, all I want is a fair shake." I said, "I know I can play defensive end at a very high level. Just let me go out there and play. Let me earn my spot. I have no problem with that. And then if I earn it, let me play. Let's not let money or politics, get in front of that." And he literally yelled out his door to Jeff Fisher from his chair. And I'm not going to say exactly what he said. There's always colorful banter in the NFL. And Jeff popped his head in there, and he goes, "Hey, your guy, your choice. If he earns it, he plays. You got my word." And you oftentimes hear people give their word in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I really believed, and now that I know Jeff Fisher and Coach Washburn, really well, the sincerity of what they said. And as you guys know, they had a first-round draft pick, the defensive end that year that I started over, just because I was, a lot better. And he developed into an unbelievable player, had an unbelievable career. But it was just such a unique, moment where hey, best player's going to play, and I'm like, wow, I believe you guys. So it was really, really cool experience to do that.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit to when you first started having to play linebacker at a high level. How did you make that adjustment?
It really wasn't my choice. When I got to Western Michigan, the Coach Arnell pulled me in the office, and he was like, "Listen, Jason," now he's got a Southern accent in his own. "Now, Jason, I'm going to tell you something right now. We got 2 All-American linebackers, and you ain't going to get much playing time, but we could really use you at defensive end. So, I whatever, I just want to play." And they put me at defensive end, and I hadn't played in 2 years because, as you guys may know, or not know, I didn't play my senior year of high school because I broke my leg the first game. So I hadn't played in almost 2 years. And I remember being at Wisconsin opening day, and I'm like, oh shit. I go from small town, I graduated with 100 people, to this. And, the stadium just electric. It just filled, and it's 100 degrees. And then all of a sudden our defensive end tears a pec, or I forget his injury. They're like, "All right, you're in, you're up." And I'm like, shit, I didn't study my playbook. I didn't think I was going to play. But then, I ended up, thankfully, just using my, my talents and abilities, and had a great game. And they're like, "Well, you found your home. This is where you need to be."
Yeah, so I know you had stints with the Seahawks and the Chiefs too, but I want to get to the Chiefs because Obviously, they won the Super Bowl last year, and they're trying to build a dynasty there, and their team is loaded. And what are your thoughts on that team, and what was it like playing for Kansas City?
Thoughts on that team is they're going to be really good for a long time. But when I was there, it was well, let me back up. I was in Seattle, and I didn't play in Seattle, right? I got traded there, and first day, Mike Holmgren goes, and that was the year he lost his ability to be head coach and general manager. And he says to me, he goes, "I didn't trade for you. The general manager did." And I was like, "All right, coach, super excited." And I didn't sniff the freaking field, And I think towards the end of the second year, I ended up getting shingles. I was stressed. I'm like, man, maybe football's not for me. And I was like, hey guys, I'm out of here. They're like, what are you talking about? You're out of here. I was like, I'm out of here. I've had enough, because I'm like, in my mind, I've always been the kind of person that, I'll make my own decisions and as I see fit. But in the NFL, you can get fired, but apparently you can't fire yourself. I was like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like, I'm out of here. So I went home and just reassessed what I was going to do next. And the Kansas City Chiefs called me, and their season was a wash. I mean, it was in tatters. They didn't give two shits what was going on. It was, hey, you just want to come play a little football. I know you haven't played in a while. Come get your cleats dirty.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? Why don't I do that? I'm going to come play a little football, And it was literally the saddest thing I've ever saw in a football situation. It was just, just wrap it up. Let's get this season done. I just went and played a little football and, for a couple games. So it wasn't the Chiefs that the Chiefs are now, that's for sure.
What are some of your biggest life lessons you can take away from throughout your career, whether that was the lows, like you mentioned, with the Seahawks or the highs, like it was with the Jaguars?
Well, I would say, the lows and the highs for me were the lows in Seattle was so beneficial for two reasons. One, it really, made me dig a little deeper. When you think you can't dig a little deeper, you dig a little deeper. But the cool thing that happened was, now when I was in the Texans, it was just a hodgepodge of veteran guys that are on their way out, collecting one more check. There was no culture. They say every team or every company has a culture, but not every culture is good, right? The culture at the Texans at the time sucked.
Yeah.
It was terrible, right? It took a long time to fix that culture, right? No one put any foresight into it when they created it. And I had no veteran leaders to learn from. I'm like, how to be a pro? I'm like, I don't know. They weren't pros anymore. They were just on their way out. So when I got to Seattle, I got to be around Patrick Kearney. And when I say he lived the life of a pro, he lived the life of a pro. When he ate, when he slept, his girlfriend at the time I think now wife, almost broke up with him because he had to eat at a certain time and she didn't get done with the news until a later time. But he was regimented, focused, lived it 24/7. So I said, okay, well, I know something about emulating. I'm going to emulate Patrick. I'm going to work out with him. I'm going to sit with him and watch tape. I'm going to do what he does. I'm going to do all, So I literally implemented a lot of things and put my own twist on that Patrick did. But being with him for 2 years or almost 2 years really taught me how to be a professional at my craft, how to grow and develop and take things to the next level, like an Olympic athlete. And I think that was part of the reason, that I kept playing and took that next step in Tennessee and, at the Eagles and so on. So I'm thankful for those two life lessons that were very low and, obviously it was a positive at the same time.
Yeah, so I want to get to your obviously you played with the Jets also. What was it like playing for New York for the Jets team in your career?
I tell you what, I've had some experiences. I got to live and play with some really, really unique places around the country and unique people and create some relationships. The Jets, it was a cool place. You live outside of New York. We go into the city, play with some of those guys. But at the end of the day, it was still football. You still had to do the things, to be successful, to win games, to be competitive. But it was cool to be in that environment, that stadium, I would say for me. So that was obviously the end of my career. I was trying to exacerbate as much football as I can from the situation, because it's obviously everyone's like, oh, why don't you retire? I'm like, well, why? This is an amazingly fun thing to do. I'm gonna keep playing as long as they're gonna let me.
All right, so throughout the beginning of your career, you were on some, like you said, on the Houston team. There's no culture, but there were a lot of guys who were going to their final seasons or had really good careers. What kind of advice were you getting from them at the beginning? And how did you put your own spin on that advice when you were coming towards the end of your career and having to give the younger guys advice?
Well, I knew, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, when I was in that situation where I was in as a rookie, where I really got no direction, no leverage, no help. Like, I don't know, kid, figure it out. I wasn't not really part of my personality, and I love to help develop guys, show them how to be pros, especially knowing what I went through. I mean, I'm at the Eagles, I would say, Fletcher Cox, for example, probably hated me, for a year, maybe more. But now he's like, shit, I'm glad he was that hard on me. I'm glad he made us do watch the tape, ride us, get on us, yell at us, make it, all the things that, like, oh, this guy's such a veteran, he's a dick. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed that aspect of development. So I was always, anyone that wanted to learn, anyone wanted to get better, I listen, come on, I'll show you, I'll help you. But I wasn't, I'm not going to beg someone to do those things. I mean, even today, someone calls me in the office and says, hey, can I get some help? Hey, I want it bad. I'm like, okay, well, be here early. Let me see how bad you want it. Let's show up, and I got you. So I definitely took that approach at the end of my career. And honestly, I still help out. Like, there's guys at, Western Michigan, even some pros that we have relationships with, that I help out in the off season and help them when they're struggling, or sometimes even they'll like, hey, watch my tape. Let me know what you're thinking, and I'll give them some feedback.
So I do this rapid fire segment now with all my guests that come on the show. So I'm gonna do a few of them here, and then actually, you know what? I'm gonna bounce back. So I'm gonna do the segment with him. So I'll say one, he'll say one, and then just to end this show like that way.
All right, you got it.
All right, my first one is Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh.
Kevin Hart.
Favorite food?
Steak.
What was your most memorable game that you played in the NFL?
Game we played up against the Giants when I had a sack cause fumble to end the game.
Funniest teammate ever?
Cullen Jenkins.
So what was your sack celebration?
It was just a pose because I suck at dancing.
What's your favorite color?
Black.
Would you consider being a defensive coach in the league in the future after your real estate?
I had an opportunity to, but I'm pretty sure my wife would have packed her shit up and left if I kept on that career.
Okay, in Michigan, what's one of your favorite things to do when you're here?
I'd have to be on the lake in the summertime.
What advice would you give these young athletes that are trying to get to their goals?
Wake up early.
All right. Well, I also want to do one quick segment where basically on my show I flip the switch, have the person I'm talking to ask me a couple questions. In this case, ask both me and Nathan. How would you like to do that?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay.
Let me ask you this: What motivated you to do this podcast?
You want to start?
You can start. You can go.
So I was pretty much for the past 2.5 years doing everything in person at events. It was kind of like just a kid with the mic. A lot of people didn't give me access. They wouldn't give me like the things that other media earned simply because of my age, even after I had 2 years of work under my belt. So I was just basically that kid standing outside waiting for someone to come and just talk to them for a minute. And then COVID hit, and suddenly I had to reach out to people and I had to set things up. And now suddenly I'm sitting with someone for an hour. For example, I have Lee Steinberg tonight, the legendary agent, CEO of Patrick Mahomes' agency, Steinberg Sports and Entertainment. So it's the podcast was just like, I got to keep going. And I decided, all right, this is what I'm going to do.
Now, I think we got to dive a little deeper. What's your why? Why the sports broadcasting? Why trying to do all of this? Like, we got to find out the why. That's what people want to know about you.
Have you ever seen a kid on national TV when you're watching sports, like covering the game, doing anything with the sidelines consistently?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Well, if there is one kid, guess what? The millions of other kids who watch, they get inspired too. Man, this kid started when he was 11, and right now I'm 8 years old. I like cooking. I'm going to start a cooking show now, and by the time I'm 11, who knows what I'll be doing. that's my why, is like making kids realize that what they want to do, they have a chance to do it.
No, that's good, man. Way to be an inspiration.
Yeah,
All right, what about you? What's your why for this podcast?
all right.
Besides, you love the Cowboys.
So my why is just inspiring people, man, and keeping people entertained. And obviously, this whole pandemic thing is people are down right now. So I came up where let me talk. I also do a separate podcast with my other friends on Zoom. That's called Grunt Talks. But this one I'm building my own brand, and I made this the NR Hour show, and I'm just honored for like former athletes like you, current athletes, to come on the show. And like I said, this Sunday was my 25th birthday, and I had Isaiah Thomas, former Detroit Piston, on the show, and that was an honor. And for me, the why is just inspiring people and learning other people's backgrounds and just keeping people entertained. That's it.
So I have recently started a podcast myself. We have yet to start dropping them. We're in a little bit of a backlog, but one thing that I ask my guests at the end is, if you could go back and tell your younger self some advice, what would it be? A little bit difficult for you since you're only 14, but what would you tell your younger self?
Man, I think there is a couple of things. You go ahead.
Oh, you go.
Okay, so I would say there is a couple of things. I mean, coming up as an 11 or 12-year-old, like I said, there was a lot of discrimination against me being the younger guy in a room full of 40, 50-year-olds. And I would just tell my younger self to embrace those moments because of how much it's taught me going forward. And just discipline it's put in me, the work ethic it's put in me, and just to try to really fully embrace that and not let those people get to me, because that's what they're trying to do.
Yes. Sorry to cut you off. It says here for some reason it's less than a minute, and I need to upgrade my Zoom for some reason. So I gotta
Answer quickly.
Yeah. So for me,
The block costs extra.
I would tell myself, my younger self, that man, I didn't expect where I'm at right now doing this podcast and killing it and just keeping people entertained, motivated. So I would say that I didn't expect to be where I'm at right now. That's what I would say. But yeah, but I just want to say thank you for coming on our show, both our shows, and this has been an honor. I'll be posting this on all social media formats, and keep up the great work, and you and your family stay safe.
All right, next time I'm in Michigan, you guys, you know where I'll be.
All right, man.
All right.
Take care.
All right.